For this video, I'll be discussing techniques to formatting webtoons in regards to paneling, text, and special effects. The usual paneling in all manhwas and webcomics is a black bordered square with white filler space and artwork within the square. Frames are very useful to express scenes in comics and have a large range of possible varieties. Some common varied panel sequences is overlaying frames, a preceding diagonal slash between two panels, and a diagonal descending or increasing sequence. Empty boxes are also used to show a sense of passing time. The color of the fill space is important if used for setting time of day in story. White filler space accompanies a scene if set during daytime or the present. Black filler space is used along with scenes set during nighttime or during a flashback. Flashbacks often have a colored filter on top of the panels to indicate so. For drawing panels, I used a good old shape tool. On a new layer, I draw up the shape of the frame, then fill in the outside of the border. Then make a new layer and drop it below the border layer. This way, whatever you draw won't appear outside the border. The most common text font I've seen across English translated Manhwa and webcomics is Wild Words Roman. Other similar fonts such as CC Astro City are used. These texts are fully capitalized in black color outlined in white and in sans serif type. Meanwhile, webcomics also tend to have more text variety. Other fonts such as Aggie are commonly used. Text also is not always fully capitalized, but instead follow usual capitalization. In both Manhwa and webcomics, sometimes a different font will be used to show a dramatic event in the scene. An example is when someone is going insane and we follow their thought pattern up to when they're about to commit murder. Normal speech bubbles are ovals with the tail. While the tail is usually a triangle, I like to go with a lined string, just for aesthetic reasons. Normal speech bubbles can be varied, such as into two parts, or connected with a lined string. The tail can also be inverted to show speech from someone off screen. Yelling is shown through a spiked bubble, sometimes with a jagged tail from it. Wavy bubbles meanwhile show weakened speech and dashed lines indicating whispering. When trying to convey speech coming from a device, the tail is made jagged, or the bubble is slightly colored. Some manhwas and webcomics also sometimes color their speech bubbles or text to add emphasis. To show narration or captions, rectangular boxes are commonly used, for example, to set the setting or introduce a character to the audience. The most common style of thought bubbles in manhwas and webcomics use urchin. In webcomics, other styles like cloud with circles as its tail are also used. As for what sound effects to use, every language has a different interpretation of sound. Generally speaking, English translated manhwa and webcomics use English onomatopoeias. There are lots of lists out there, so be sure to refer to them. But when in doubt, just use whatever sounds right, and the reader will infer what you mean. Common sound effects for action scenes tend to be short and have a strong sound to it. Meanwhile, general sound effects for calm scenes tend to be more soft or dragged out.
Then yeah, well, what is the thing about it?
The formatting of special effects have many possible variations. A way to format insignificant sound effects is to handwrite or use bolder fonts in black outline with white. Sound effects tend to be colored to match the mood of the scene, like red for dramatic, violent frames and orange for light-hearted scenes. Text can also be transformed into different shapes to accompany the scene. Alright, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.